Hi, welcome to the Miracle Mommas Show. My name is Ashley Sabali. I am the founder of Miracle Mommas, where we strive to improve maternal health one step at a time. And I am donning my sash and crown today as part of the USOA Sister Series. I'm representing as USOA Mrs. Illinois 2025.
Yep.
And with us today is a very special friend, Robyn Booth, who is our USOA Miss Wisconsin 2025. Robyn, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Yep, I'm Robyn Booth. I am United States of America's Ms. Wisconsin 2025. And I am very excited to be here today because I have been doing pageants with Ashley for quite a while. And to be a sister queen with you this year is kind of like a dream come true. I mean, we've both come such a long way. So,
yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I remember we did our first pageant together. What was it, like going on 5 years ago?
5 years ago, yeah.
We both competed, and I'm really proud of you, Robyn.
You too. I mean, look how far we've come. It's kind of crazy to see that we're like the same, like in the same spot at this point, because when I first started, I didn't know how to walk in high heels and you've just blossomed and, have just, I'm so in awe of you. So it's just been such a fun journey to do with you. So
yeah. Likewise. And we're going to nationals. So USOA is hosting their national events Memorial Day weekend. So in May 2025. So I'm really excited for you and I and all the girls.
Yeah, we're going to have a good time.
Yeah. So today we're talking about, this is a really cool topic, co-parenting. So, we talk about many different things on the Miracle Mommas Show, from, postpartum depression and psychosis and, having a baby as a teenager, having a baby over 40. So we've had a whole gamut of topics, which is wonderful. But I know you're talking about something that this is the first time we're talking about it on the show, co-parenting. So can you tell us a little bit, tell us all about it, your journey for co-parenting.
Yeah. So I have a son. He's now going to be 12 in May. And so when I got pregnant, I was not, young. I was in my mid-20s, but it was kind of a shock. I was just dating his father and was not expecting to have a baby, to be honest with you, ever in my life. I was not somebody that I ever thought I'd be a mom. I'm a fun aunt. So, but it was also at the same time a blessing in disguise, I guess you could say, because I needed to grow up and care about someone else rather than myself. So I look at it as like getting pregnant is the start of who I really became. The person I am now is because of that moment. So, but what's hard about it is that I got pregnant with somebody who was very young at the time. So I was 26 at the time. He was 21. Yes. You can call me a cougar. That's fine. I love it. But no, so so that was a really difficult time because what kind of 21-year-old man wants to be having a baby, right? So, I mean, especially from somebody he's not like married to or things like that. So, but he was amazing. And so was his family. They stepped up and they said, okay, we're bringing a baby into this world. And it was wonderful to this extent of as wonderful as it can be. There were obviously challenges because one, I was still not on board with being pregnant. I wasn't on board with being pregnant with somebody that I wasn't planning on having a baby with. So my pregnancy was kind of tough because I didn't really have much of an attachment to my baby, which I felt really guilty about. But I will tell you that the day that he was born, which actually was on my birthday as well, so when he came out of me, they laid him on my stomach and he grabbed my arm and he was looking right at me. And I was like, wow. I tell you what, yeah, it was the most powerful thing in my entire life. And I just started to cry. And I was like, this is my baby. Like, I just did this. I'm like, and he's looking right at me. He grabbed my arm. I'm like, he knows I'm his mom. Like, this is it. And I tell you, I've had that connection with my little boy ever since. And it was a great run. Me and his father were together for 4 years. We bought a house and had a dog. We had this great life on the outside, but on the inside, we just didn't mesh well together. And I looked at it as a very bad situation. Like I couldn't understand why we couldn't make it work because we had a baby together. We have to stay together because that's the right thing to do. Everyone says stay together for the kids, right? Yeah. Well, 1 year we finally got to a point where we just couldn't do it anymore. And we decided to go our separate ways. And that was really difficult. And I think anybody that's been through some sort of breakup can agree with that. But it turned out to also be another blessing, because once we separated, we just learned that we weren't bad people. We were just bad together. And that we just, it wasn't like, I don't know how to explain it really. And it's just more of a feeling like as soon as we got away from the difficult times with one another, we were able to breathe and we're able to talk to one another. And next thing you know, we're getting through the hard times of arguing over who's doing what, and I'm moving out, and and I have to sell the house because I was a real estate agent at the time too. So then I'm here having to sell my house where my son took his first steps and where we started this life together. So there was a lot of hard times, but at the same time, we could see this light at the end of the tunnel because we both knew that we were letting go of this toxic energy that we had between us. So, but what's really awful about it, and this is what I kind of wanted to discuss on your podcast, was that entire time of me living with my ex and my son had become my best friend and I was his world. My ex was a Milwaukee police officer at the time, and he's now a firefighter. So he does great things for the city of Milwaukee. I'm very proud of him. But he worked nights and he slept during the day. So he just could not be there as much as we would have wanted to. And I don't know if anyone understands cop life, but even when you have set hours, you have overtime constantly. And in the summer in Milwaukee, it's like you don't have a day off ever. So he was not around a whole lot for our son, which was no fault of his own. And because of that, me and my son created this very close bond. So when it came time to split, and now we're looking at custody, like who's going to have him on what days, that realization of like, wait, I'm not going to have my son every night like I do right now. I'm not going to have, like, you're going to have him alone without me. The panic that set in. And I can be honest with you, I spiraled. I absolutely spiraled. It was an emotion I can't even explain. I'm actually embarrassed about how ugly things became on my side because I was so angry that I had to give up my child to him. Even though I know he's a good father, even though I know he's a good person, even though nothing bad would happen with my child, I couldn't let go of that. And it was like, I said that it was like my postpartum from a breakup of having to share my child. So that part, and we didn't go through the courts or anything like that. Him and I, like I said, we had a mutual, we're splitting up. We just agreed that whenever one of us wasn't working, we would, the other one would have the child. So, because again, he had a very demanding job. So he couldn't obviously have our son if he was at work. So it just got down to a point where I remember the first time I had to let him have our son for a weekend. And it was the hardest weekend of my life. I don't think I slept. I cried constantly. And I kept saying to myself, what is wrong with me? Why can't I do this? And I don't know, like, I mean, you're married and you have 3 kids, right? It's 3?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Sometimes I forget if there's 3 or 4, so my apologies. But I mean, imagine like even just your kids going away for like a few days with grandma and grandpa or something, right? It's nice in the beginning, but you start to feel it after a little while, right? You're like, I kind of missed a little bit of chaos. I miss my babies. Well, that's how it felt the second that I knew that I had to give him up. And then I had to spend the entire weekend without him. And I probably could have been like, hey, how's it going over there and everything? But we weren't at that point where we were like real civil with one another because I was being a little clingy to my son. So I just had to sit at home and just cry it out and wonder and hope. And it was terrible. And the worst part about it was no one understood my side of it. No one like his family is wonderful. I love them to pieces, but it just felt like they didn't get it. And then my family was like, well, you send him away with us all the time. And I go, that's different because I can call you, I can check in, I can FaceTime. He's with his dad who's never had him for 2 days alone straight. I'm like, so I'm panicking. So that was the hardest part. And because of it, it made our split a lot more difficult. And that's on me 100%. I will say it till the cows come home. I was not the best co-parent in the beginning of our relationship. But as time goes on, you get used to it, you get into a rhythm. And then of course, what comes next after, 2 people split and they start their lives over, the other person starts dating, right? So then my next fear was, what if my ex starts seeing someone that isn't good to my son or isn't, good to me? And I end up in one of those co-parenting relationships where I'm fighting with my husband's wife all the time.
It's a legitimate fear.
It is.
That's legitimate.
Well, because let's be honest, do you not believe that that's the norm? Is that most sides usually there's more bickering than there is getting along, unfortunately, because when you bring a third party into a family, it makes it more difficult. There's just no way of getting around that. So in the beginning, he also was seeing people and that I didn't really approve of. And of course I had to stick my nose in it. And I was like, I don't like this. Like, you can date anybody else, but not that person. So it comes off really bad. It's like, no, you're just jealous. And it's like, no, I'm not. I just don't want, I don't want you, but I don't want that person around my son. So it's a very slippery slope, because what say do I have in that, right?
Yeah.
So that was another difficult thing. So you can just imagine in the beginning of this, where I was just a spiraling mess. And one of these times, we got into a huge argument, and I couldn't even tell you what it was about, but I remember sitting in my parking lot of my apartment complex crying. And sometimes I go on Pinterest to initially to find a quote that reminds me, like, you are doing better without him. Like, he's awful, something ridiculous. But what actually came up was a quote that said, hating someone is like you drinking poison and hoping the other person dies. And I sat and I looked at it and I was like, and I thought about my situation. I'm like, me being mad at my ex for him dating, for him being with our son when I'm not with our son, for things that, should not be mad about, is not affecting him in any way, shape, or form. It's not going to change anything. It's not going to hurt him. He doesn't care if I'm mad at him. But who's hurting? I am. So why am I doing this to myself? So it was at that moment I actually ended up writing that down and putting it on a Post-it and put it in my car. And then I ended up putting it at my desk at work, and I put it in my house on my mirror in the bathroom. And I just kept telling myself, and I never hated him, but I used to say this, I'm like, being mad at him is not going to do anything. It's not going to fix anything. You need to find a different way to work through what you're feeling and communicate with him. And I will tell you, from that moment on, our complete relationship changed. And I don't know if he knows that that's why it did, but I kind of stopped fighting at that point. Sure, we have our disagreements still to this day on things, and we don't see eye to eye on everything, but we don't fight. And luckily for me, shortly after that, he met a wonderful woman who he is now married to. And she is not only the best bonus mom to my son, but she is one of my closest friends. And I feel like everything happened the day that I let go of my anger towards him. And I just decided I was going to be a better partner. Maybe not a partner in a relationship, but a partner in our son's lives. So that's the gist of how I got to where I am. But really the big and best part about my co-parenting is my son's bonus mom. And I don't call her stepmom. I don't like that word. I mean, the fairy tales.
It's a negative connotation.
It is. Yeah, the fairy tales ruined it for me. But I'm telling you, so her name is Kimberly, and she is actually, I think, 9 years younger than me. So she's closer to age to my ex than I am, I believe. But she's 9 years younger than me. And I tell you what, I knew that she was perfect for him the moment I met her, because I went over to our house to get it ready for a showing, and she happened to be there. And my ex is like, oh God, this is the first time they're meeting. This is awkward. But she was wonderful. She was like, can I help you get the house ready? Is there anything I can do? And I was like, yeah, that's awesome. She's not weirded out by me being there. I mean, she was very sweet. And I thought right away, I was like, and I remember calling my ex and being like, I love her. I think she's great. And then every step of the way, from when it came time for her to meet our son, she was, hey, how do you feel about this? Are you okay with this? And I right then and there, I was like, I'm okay with everything at this point, because you ask. What kind of, person comes into a relationship and says, I care about the mom's feelings? And she's so young. So I'm sitting here, I'm like, this woman was raised right. Like, what the heck?
Yes. The maturity level. I mean,
it was insane. She's more mature than I am. I'm going to put it out there right now. But I was just so impressed with her. And I tell you, she has been the one thing that has gotten us to this point in our lives. I mean, any time that we had a disagreement, she didn't take sides. She talked us through it. So she could understand my point of view as a woman and as a mother, and she could understand her, her now husband's point of view as well. So, and then she'd explain it to me. And she still does that for us. And I love it. I love that I could not understand why Jared's acting a certain way. And she'll call me up and she'll be like, well, I live with him and I listen to him and I talk to him. Here's where he's coming from. He just can't communicate that to you. And I'm like, oh, okay. I understand now. So she's just been a godsend for us. And I just love her to pieces. The day they got married, and of course I was at the wedding. I know that probably sounds odd to a lot of people, but the day at the wedding, our son gave a speech about how happy he was to have her as a mom. And everybody's like, aren't you weirded out that he calls her mom? And I said, no, we talked about it. We talked about the fact that they're going to be having kids and we don't want it to be weird that he's calling her Kimberly. So we agreed that I'd be mom and she'd be mama.
Oh, and I love that.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, at first when we talked about it, I did go home and cry again. That's my go-to, is to go home and cry. But I cried for maybe like 5 minutes just because it was like this little piece of me as a mom. I was like, oh, that's my son. And now I'm like, he's calling somebody else mom.
That's a big thing for you to do. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, it was the right thing to do, but I'm not going to lie. It was hard in the beginning. But again, it was like a 5-minute cry. And then I was like, no, you're doing the right thing. She loves your son just as much as you do. I mean, I'm in a position where if I were to die tomorrow, I know my son's got a great mom to take care of him for the rest of his life. So I looked at it as she's earned the title as mama, and I refer to her as mama. Like when I talk to my son, I'm like, how was your weekend at Dad and Mom's? And it's funny because I think people hear us and they're like, what? Aren't you his mom? So, but it's been really great. And then they do have kids now as well. And it works out just as we thought it would. They call her, they call their mom, but they call me auntie because we didn't know what was going to happen there with me I'm always over at the house, by the way. Like this is some crazy co-parenting now.
I think it's wonderful. I mean, that's like a co-parenting dream. I mean,
it is.
I think. I mean,
yeah,
amazing.
It's been wonderful, and I'm so thankful it worked out the way they did because they have They have 3 daughters. They're 3, 2, and now I believe she's 8 months. Yep, Ivy just turned 8 months, and they are the cutest little girls. And I just count my blessings that I get to be a part of their lives. I don't have any other children besides my 11-year-old son, and it's like I keep telling them, I'm like, can you have one more? I'm ready for another. Like I don't want to birth it, but can you guys have one more? Because they're just the sweetest little girls, and my son is the best big brother to them. And
like that,
it's just been, I can't say enough good things about it. If people are ever in the situation where they can be, I know co-parenting is difficult for a lot of people with, resentment and jealousy and anger, and it takes both sides have to be on board to make it work. You can't be on board and then the other person be difficult. It doesn't work that way. So, but I just tell people like that should be your end goal, because in the long run, it's so worth it. I can't imagine my life without, my ex. I can't imagine it without his wife, and I can't imagine it without their daughters. They're my world. And, and our son even tells everybody that the best thing that ever happened to him was his parents splitting up because he's got this great mom and mama, and now these 3 wonderful sisters as well. So it's kind of a crazy concept, I know. And I think a lot of people think we're weird for it, but I mean,
I think it's great. I mean, think about like he's going to go to college one day, maybe he'll get married one day, and you're going to be there, and you're
yeah,
his father's going to be there. So it's nice that you always are going to be with, you're going to see each other. I mean,
yeah. And it's another thing too, is like, we don't have that awkwardness of like hanging out together. Like, and the funny part is my ex, his wife, and my family, the families are all friends too. So now we're just this one big cluster of friends and family, and it's just wonderful. And even my mom calls the girls, with her grandchildren at this point, because I mean, we're just all so intertwined, and it's awesome. So, but it has shown to be difficult for my dating life because people think it's weird.
Really?
Every guy I've dated thinks it's really weird how close I am with them. And I'm like, well, that's a package deal here. Like,
I would think it's good that there's no bad mojo. Everyone's good. It's kumbaya. Your
you
ex
would
already
think
moved
so.
on.
Yep. Yeah, you would think so. And the best part is like, and my ex is still there for me. He's rooting for me in my corner. I mean, when I won, Ms. Wisconsin, he was right there to congratulate me. And, it's just, I think it's wonderful. I don't know why people don't want more people in their corner. And especially when it's somebody you have a child with. You're together for the rest of your lives, whether you think it's, my son's going to turn 18. That doesn't mean I'm going anywhere. I'm like, there's still, marriage and grandkids. And this is a lifelong commitment, regardless of whether or not you're together. So you might as well get along and make it work as best as you can. I'm not saying, like I said, we see eye to eye on everything. We certainly do not. But we talk it through because that's what you should do. And there's some times where I absolutely disagree with him on things and sometimes have to walk away. But that's better than us arguing.
And it happens in marriages too. I mean,
and that's and nobody gets along all the time by any means, but there's respect there now. And I think we're just very, very blessed to have this. And I wish more people could have it. But like I said, you have to be willing to do it on both sides, because a lot of people ask me, they're like, I wish I had what you had. How do I get that? And I'm like, well, I need to talk to both of you then. And to tell you your ex and you that you both have to be on the same page, because you have to put the hurt aside and find a way to cope with it, whether it be through therapy or, breaking something at one of those fun rooms. I did that one day. That helped.
Oh, you did?
It's so great. Yeah. I highly, highly suggest if your town has one of those rooms where you can just go break things, go.
I've heard about that. Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah. I've gone recently, actually, because I just needed to let out some steam, and that was so much fun. So I know it sounds just crazy to think that breaking things will make you feel better, but it reminds me of like Office Space, when they beat up the fax machine. That was who I was a couple days ago when I was having a rough day.
I wanted to ask you, about like your tips and advice, but I think that therapy is I think that's really great. Like someone who mediates, a therapist. Do you have any other tips or advice for people who are starting to go through this or might be having trouble?
Yep. So a big part is you don't use the kids as a revenge. Don't use them as a pawn. That's something I see constantly from in co-parenting. It can be easy to try to turn your kid against the other one because you want them on your side. You want to look like the better parent, but you are damaging that child if you do that. And I will be honest with you. I've had my moments where I've slipped up and said something along the lines of like, well, your father just, he doesn't understand this or whatever. And all of a sudden I'm like, ooh, I don't want my son to take it that way. So then I'll restart my sentence with like, I'm like, but your dad, has his reasonings for what he does, why he does things. And then I usually end the conversation with, I love and respect your father, right? You have a good dad, and I kind of reiterate that no matter what happened between him and me, I will always love him. He has been in my corner since day one. He's stepped up to become a dad at 21 years old. And I know right now, if I needed him for something, he would be there. And I'm sure he wouldn't be happy 100%, depending on what it was. But like, he's shown up in the middle of the night to put air in my tires when I had a flat tire. And he taught me how to fix it too. Like in the middle of the night, he did that. I mean, granted, I'm pretty sure Kimberly, his wife, sent him, but still he showed up. But like, it just goes to show you that the kinder you are to the other person, it might come back around. I can't guarantee it, but the kids are watching everything you're doing. And I hope that someday my son, I hope he never goes through the sort of situation where he is splitting from his spouse by any means. But if it came down to it, because it is more common than it used to be, I hope that he knows that there is a light at the end of the tunnel once you get through the hard stuff, and that you are going to be okay. But you have to be respectful and kind to one another. And you have to just wait it out. You have to know that it's going to get better. So, I mean, that's the best advice I can give. But yeah, therapy is a good route because it also helps to talk to somebody. We actually went to a couples therapist in the beginning. That's how we decided to break up.
Oh, well,
she was trying
sometimes, I mean, it's healthy. I mean, sometimes it's just healthier to be apart than be together. I mean, sometimes like different personalities just don't, I mean, living together, it's almost like, when you're dating, but when you actually live together, it's different.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's different. It's a
Yeah.
different
It
ballgame.
was funny to go to a couples therapist to try to fix our relationship, and by the end of it, we were like, yeah. And I remember calling the therapist and be like, "Hey, we don't need any more sessions. We're actually gonna split up." And she's like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." And I was like, "No, this feels really good. Like feels like we're finally getting somewhere." So yeah, that's another thing too, is I tell people like divorce is sad and it's unfortunate, but it's not anything to be shameful of in a way, because people grow apart. You can't tell me that you're absolutely going to be the same person you were when you got married. Some people can grow together, which is great, but some people don't. And if you can't work it out, don't keep fighting it. Like keep trying to fix it. I'm like, it's just going to be more toxic for you guys and for your children. Find a way to co-parent. It's the best route you can go. And I think it gets a bad rap that people are trying to fix things when they might just not be fixable anymore. That doesn't mean you can't be friends just because you're not married anymore. So,
No, well said, Robyn. Thank you
thanks.
so much. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness, thank
sorry,
you
I just
so much. This is
talked up
great.
that whole thing. I'm so sorry.
No, I'm so glad. I'm taking it all in. And I think this is so important because, I mean, the divorce rate in the U.S. is high, and I agree with you. It's something to be ashamed of. Sometimes, relationships just don't work. I mean,
You
and
know,
you can still be friendly and still have a platonic relationship
yeah,
and be cordial with one another.
yeah,
Thank you so much for coming on the show, and I'm
yeah.
wishing you the best of luck at
Thanks.
nationals.
You too. Yeah, thanks so much. I appreciate you having me on the show.